Hi everybody, video 2 for Friday. This is a direct continuation from the last video. We had to cut off right in the middle of looking up quotes for research. So this is the same article that I had pulled up earlier. Let's just talk for a second about two things: how to choose a quote and what the difference between summarizing and quoting. So think about the research papers that you guys have done in the past and what research you looked up, what resources you used. Did you go to databases? Have you even heard of Project Muse and JSTOR? Or was Google your only source? So probably you've done some form of more intensive research. The thing to consider whenever you're choosing quotes: how do you normally choose quotes? Do you just choose the thing that sounds the prettiest, or if there's a lot of information packed into one sentence, or if it's a statistic, you choose it? Some of you have already provided quotes for your hooks and your narrative paper. That's pretty smart. You need to cite those as well. So anything that you did not come up with yourself or is not common knowledge, you need to cite. So there are kind of three ways that I approach quoting. So I always look for something that's credible. That's number one. So I'm not going to go to a blog and try to get all of my research from someone who may not be an authority on this topic. I want to find something that's peer-reviewed, most likely. It's on these sites that I'm guiding you toward. It's on Google Scholar, etc. So that normally says it's credible. Also, is if it's a .org, .gov, or .edu website, those are more credible than a .com, because that means they're with an organization, the government website, a government website, or it's an educational website normally created by a university. Okay, so if you do need to go there to the web, then go to these sites. If you're doing something kind of pop culture-y, which a lot of these movie posters are, I recommend that you have more scholarship over the pop culture elements, but I do understand that sometimes you might need to look up something like an interview or a quote from the creator, or something like, if you're doing Hunger Games, you might need to look up a quote by Suzanne Collins to understand the purpose behind the texts, which then fuel the movie poster creation. So for example, with that, I did a paper last semester over VanityFair.com for my graduate class, and this is a interview done with Eric Spitznagel and George Romero, who created the image of the modern zombie, essentially, but also the Night of the Living Dead in those films, Dawn of the Dead. So in this, it's just, he's talking about where the image of brains comes from. It does not come from Romero Zombie, surprisingly. Anyway, so this is a .com, as you can see here, but the reason why I would choose it, and I would not base my entire paper with something like this, but I would need it because I need Romero's specific words. Okay, so that's the one exception kind of to the .com rule. But again, stay away from blogs, stay away from really sites that are not quite as credible as they should be. Okay, so let's go back to this article and think about the second of the three things. So again, credible is number one. Number two is if it uses specific language, and specific language can be, it's like aesthetically beautiful. So it's just a well-written, beautiful sentence that relates to the topic you're discussing. So that might be a good instance in which to direct quote the author. The third instance is if it has a lot of jargon or information compacted into a sentence that you could not really summarize as well as the author does. So let's try to find one of these three. I know that this is a credible source. It's on JSTOR. It was published in an actual academic journal. It was peer-reviewed, as we saw earlier. And the good thing about JSTOR is it literally has all the source information right here for you. So when you go to do your MLA works cited, then you can just go to this one page and everything's nicely detailed here. So let's choose a quote from this, and then we'll cite it. And that'll be one way that you can cite for journal articles. So I'm reading, going down, and it's nice because this author has subheadings: a metaphor for social decay. So we talked a little bit about The Walking Dead as like city versus nature. Also, We Are the Walking Dead is like the tagline of the whole show slash comic. So I've already pre-read because to save some time. And this is talking about Romero's Dawn of the Dead and zombies in a mall, essentially, and what that is indicative of in a larger metaphorical way. So this quote here, it's long, so I might need to cut it down. But definitely I want to capture that this author is commenting on Romero's film as a scathing commentary on American consumer culture. So this might have to do a little bit with the cityscape. Like in my paper, I would write something how Walking Dead zombies are cousins to Romero zombies, and I might provide a little bit of background for that. And then I would say how Romero's, so let's look up his name. I don't have this memorized. Schott, I guess. Gareth Schott, we'll say that's his name. How he argues that Romero's film was all of this. So this is a long quote, but it has a lot of really detailed, succinct words. And so I would go ahead and copy that. And let's open up a Word document. And then let's say I'm already writing, and let's just paste it into the Word document. It's going to be kind of weird because it's not in a Word document originally, so you just, polish it up a little bit. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is obviously put quotation marks around everything once I get it a little bit polished up. Cut off the E. And now what I need to do is, this is a journal, so it has page numbers. I go up and I find the page number, 62. Do not put 3 because this is just the PDF file. 62 is what I want to put here. And I also, it would be a good idea to just put his name and to also save this in a folder so that when you go back and you are finding MLA works cited stuff, it's a lot easier on you and you're less likely to plagiarize because you already have identified this information as not your own. You're correctly citing it as Gareth Schatz. I don't know how to say his name. Okay, so what you do for this, an in-text citation, you would put his last name and then the page number and then the period. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Obviously, it'd be 12 font in your papers. So you have the quote here. What we want to do, instead of just starting a sentence with quotation marks, we want to put something like, according to and then you might put the title of the entire article so that I have some context for what you're quoting. Dawn of the Digital Dead. You can include the subtitle in the paper. You don't really have to. So Dawn of the Digital Dead. And then this is an article, so we put it in quotation marks. All this is in Easy Writer, but I'm just telling you now because Easy Writer is dense. So according to so-and-so in this article, and then we have our quote. If you put the author's name in the same sentence, you do not need to repeat it in the in-text citation, okay? So again, this here, the parentheses, this is called the in-text citation. So it's basically just saying to the reader, hey, I got this quote on this page of this article by this guy, all right? So it's the most specific information that you can provide. If we're going down and we're making a works cited page, what you would do is at the end of your essay, very, very end of your essay, you would space all the way down to the next page. All right, this needs to be centered. So center this, and if you have more than one work, then you add a plural. So if you have more than one source, that's what these are, works. Okay, the next thing you do, we are not centered anymore, and all of this is double spaced. So now what we need to do is provide the citation for this entry, okay? So we've chosen a quote, we have in-text cited it correctly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of this because it makes it a little bit easier to, rather than switching between two screens, even though you would not just put this as your entry. Again, you would not put this as your entry, okay? So what we do first is always put the author's last name and then the article title. So I'm just going to put all this up here and then fix the fonts and all that later. Okay, so it still needs to be double spaced. And then let's go ahead and put it all in 12 just to give you a little bit better reference. All right, so now you're probably thinking, okay, how the heck do I memorize all the rules for quoting or citing a website or a book or a journal article? So that's where EasyWriter comes in, or Purdue Owl. Hopefully you've heard of Purdue Owl, perhaps not. So all I did was I went to MLA, Purdue Owl, right here. In any order, it'll come up like as the first entry. So just Owl, Purdue University, MLA, citation style. MLA is for the humanities, APA is for like medicine, Chicago's for history, and there are a lot of other formats, or a lot of other disciplines that fit into these formats, and there is CMS as well. But for humanities, we're going to stick to MLA. So over here, you can see that it has a lot of details about how to cite things. So they just switched MLA, these mean people, from the 7th edition to the 8th. So we're going to try to follow the 8th edition because that is the most recent, and in English 102, that's what your professor will hopefully be using. So let's go here. Let's look for what we're actually accessing. A book. No, we're not looking at a book. Periodicals. Nope, it's not a newspaper. Electronic source. It is online, so we'll look and see if they have like an electronic source for like a JSTOR entry. In the actual EasyWriter, the 7th edition MLA style guide, it has a JSTOR entry all by itself to make it easier for you. So if you're citing a website, here is the information for that, okay? The only things that change, which you'll have to go up here and review the major changes, they've taken out the access, the medium of access, so you will not put web or print anymore. And citing a print book with one author, and you will not put the city of publication, okay? So those are the two major changes. So you do not put the city of publication or the medium of access. You only put author's last name, comma, first name, the title of the work, the publisher, and then the year. This is for a print book, but we're citing a journal article, okay? So let's go to other common sources and see if it's here. This will be good also to cite your movie poster. This page here, like image would be how you cite that. Okay. So if we can't find it, and I'm having trouble, I haven't memorized how to do it, but I want to show you guys an actual website you can go to. Okay, so periodicals, journal article, online journal article. Okay. So here we go. What I also do with this is I normally just copy with a DOI assigned. So we go back here. What I would do is I would look to see if there's a DOI under this. I don't see one, so you would access the other option, the non-DOI. We're running out of time, so I'm sorry I can't say more about this, but these are all the resources. We will practice more citation, so just do the best you can right now, and I'll see you guys next week.